Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I got another deck profile for you guys today. It's actually one I haven't touched on in a long time, in fact. So I figured I should bring it back. I've been working so hard to try and figure out how to make this deck competitive in today's format. Because this is not my favorite deck, but it's my favorite archetype, being the vampire archetype. So I wanted to test out some different ratios, different possibilities with this deck. One time I tried to do the instant fusion tech, it just wasn't working well because I needed to commit to extra deck space, so I figured to scrap that idea and just mainly focus on the vampire engine itself and just kind of link climb into some powerful boss monsters and all that stuff. But I kind of figured out this one actually had some pretty good win ratios. It still needs more. It still needs more support to get it that far, because I think vampires actually have that potential. But for now, I think this is just a deck best to play at a locals or just play casually if you want to go that route. So anyway, let me go and show you what I got this time around. Alright, so starting off with the vampires, of course, you're going to be playing 3 Alucards. I say Alucard because he literally looks like Alucard from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. But his name is Vampire Scarlet Scourge. But this guy's pretty cool. If he's normal or special summon, you can pay 1,000 life points, target 1 vampire monster in your grave, special summon it, but he can't attack this turn. But that's generally okay. Usually one of your main targets is either going to be your vampire familiar, your retainer, or even your Furline if you need to. Speaking of which, 3 Furline. It's basically a hand trap in and itself. Whenever a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense mode. And once per battle, whenever a zombie monster battles, you can pay your life points to a max of 3,000 if you want, and raise that monster's attack points equals to the points you spent. So, yeah, and if you already figured it out, the gist of this deck is that you pay life points to use the effects, but this deck also has a way to replenish your life points, which I'll get to momentarily. Moving on to familiar only, though. You only need 2, you don't really need 3. Whenever this card is special summon, pay 500 life points to search out a vampire monster from your deck to your hand. And it also has a graveyard fair where you can dump a vampire card from your hand to the grave and special summon it from there. But you have to banish it when it leaves. Next card, Retainer, pretty much does the exact same thing, only instead of monster cards, it's spells and traps. For the last of our vampires, I got 1 Red Baron, it's a level 6. It's also a creature swap, so not too bad, but I mainly need it because it's a level 6. And Vampire's Grace, also same situation, it's a level 6, but whenever a zombie monster is special summoned through the effect of a zombie monster, you can pay 2,000 life points, summon this card from your grave. So, pretty good. Next up, 3 Shiranui Solitaire. I mean, since it's technically a zombie deck, you definitely still need to run a small Shiranui engine. 1 Spirit Master, since I do run Shogun Saga in my extra deck. 3 Unizombie, just helps you dump your zombies to the grave faster. And 2 Mizuki. You don't really need 3. 3 is a little bricky, so 2 should be just fine. It's just an additional Monster Reborn card, because again, Scarlet Scourge is a Monster Reborn in and itself, so Mizuki is just an added bonus. And for the last 3 hand traps I'm running, 3 Ash. I mean, it's the most generic hand trap there is, so might as well run it. Alright, so moving on to spells. Playing 3 Called by the Grave, that's standard. You don't want any hand traps to hit you. 3 Vampire's Desire. Vampire's Desire. This is a Foolish Burial, as well as a Unizombie-ish card. So you target 1 face-up monster you control, send a vampire monster from your deck to the grave, and you change that level. Well, it has to be a different level of the monster you targeted, but you basically turn that monster's level to the one you sent. It's also a Monster Reborn as well, so target 1 vampire monster in your grave, send 1 monster you control to the grave, and if you do, special summon that targeted monster. So it's a good way just to kind of get let's say you had a Mizuki out on field and you need to summon back one of your vampires. You can send Mizuki to the grave, summon that vampire like Scarlet Scourge, uses effect, bring back, and then Mizuki's effect to bring back another zombie. So it's like a pretty nasty combo right there. Next, 2 copies of Vampire's Domain. Once per turn, you can pay 500 life points to get additional normal summon as long as it's a vampire. So it's double summon for vampires. And also, whenever your vampire monsters inflict battle damage, you regain life points. So this is basically how you replenish life points. 2 Twin Twisters, backroad heavy decks. I mean, backroad is important in this format, as a lot of y'all pointed out, so I decided to go to main deck Twin Twisters. I was going to go Cosmic Cyclone, but for this deck, I think Twin Twisters should be just fine, because the art cards you want to discard to use their graveyard effects, and that's just kind of how this deck gets its advantage with, so I figured this was the better route. For 1-ofs, playing 1-for-1. Reasoning, I mean, your opponent's going to have a hard time predicting which level to actually call, so Reasoning is pretty good. 1 Foolish Burial, and of course, Monster Reborn. And for the only 2 traps I'm running, Vampire Dominations, basically a Solemn Strike / Solemn Judgment for vampires. Whenever a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, while you control a vampire, you can negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. Then if it was a monster card, you can gain life points equal to that monster's original attack points. So this card is actually pretty good, and it's another good way to replenish your life points. Alright, so that's it for the main deck. That's 40 cards. Extra deck, starting off with 2 copies of Vampire Sucker. It's a standard zombie link monster, so you definitely want to run this. It's also a Monarch Stormforce, so you can... well, first, her ability is that if a zombie monster is special summoned from either player's graveyard, you get to draw 1 card, and you can also revive one of your opponent's monsters and treat it as a zombie. And once per turn, you can tribute. If you're going to tribute someone, you can tribute one of your opponent's zombie monsters instead. So, Vampire Sucker is definitely pretty good. 1 Link Rebo, got a couple level 1s, so I figured why not. Still running the Nightmare package of Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. You know, spell removal is not always important. And the only link form running is Crusade Avermax. I was going to go Borreload, but Avermax is just so much easier to make, so I'm sticking with him. So, hands down on that. For my Synchros, playing Squire Saga. She's got a pretty good effect. By now, everyone should already know what she does. 1 Shogun Saga for OTK. Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend for time advantage. You know, once per turn, you pop all special summon monsters, and your opponent takes 500 points for each one. Borreload Savage Dragon for negation. Cypherm Lord Omega if you want to rip cards out of your opponent's hand for a turn. And for the only Xyz monsters I'm running are 2 copies of Dampier Vampire Sheridan. This card gets a lot done for me. You can target 1 card on the field and send it to the graveyard. So this does not destroy, so it's a good way to avoid destruction effects and all that good stuff. And Dragulus pretty much does the exact same thing, only he has to be flip summoned. And anytime he hits the grave or gets banished, you can special summon him back in face down defense mode. So Dragulus is definitely a really good card. Alright, so moving on to the extra, or not to the extra deck, to the side deck already. I'm running 3 Lancia, and it's the best side card right now. 3 Shared Ride. I mean, there's a lot of decks right now to do a lot of searching too, so Shared Ride will definitely get you a lot of pluses. To mainly deal with like combo decks and mine decks, I'm actually playing Mystic Mine on the side, as well as Black Garden. And another good card to pretty much shut down Mystic Mine entirely, Magical Midbreaker Field, because the only monsters are really going to be playing is Lilith. And with this, they can never activate Mystic Mine, even with Metaverse, or I forgot what that quick play spell is, but if y'all guys should know what I'm talking about. It's like a quick play version of Terraforming, only it plays the card directly from deck. And to go in tangent with these field spell, I'm going with Set Rotation. So if you can manage to pull this off, you're pretty much in a really good spot. I'm also playing Eradicator on the side too, so figured this was pretty good. Because not every deck's going to be playing back row, but there are going to be quite a few back row heavy decks this format, so figured this would be a pretty good choice. Well, anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys again next time.